going to be looking at the TileMaster package for Unity3D. TileMaster is an editor extension which allows you to convert your sprites to 2D mesh and connect them in a sequence. I'm going to show you exactly how it's done, how you can use it, and what to expect from this package. So if you open TileMaster, just click Window, TileMaster, and you'll have this sort of pretty classic editor extension window pop up. I prefer to use this one down here on the left below my hierarchy so that I can also leave my inspector available to use. Luckily it's all scrollable, so that won't be an issue for you. And you can see there are 3 buttons and then a bunch of options available to you. So actually these all of those settings are just sort of your prefabs, which you can specify so that when you spawn a path, when you spawn a new path, it will have the exact same values as you've mentioned in the editor window. So now we can see that we didn't choose any textures, and we'll have the default values in. So right now if we click Paint All, it will just be blank white because there are no textures on our materials. So let's delete this one. Let's choose a couple of textures, and there are 2 textures you have to select. The first one is the border of the sprite you're gonna have, and the second one is the square. Of course you can change all of those settings, so let's create a path. You are able to change all of those settings individually on each path, but this is just something that can help you create maybe multiple paths with the same settings quicker. So now that we've created our first path, we see that there are 2 points which are visible only in the scene view, by the way. So there are 2 points, and the way this editor extension works is that you have a game object called path with sprite mesh script, and then the child of that object are prefab points. And you can create as many points as you want by just right-clicking, then dragging it anywhere you want in a scene, and placing it right there with a right-click again. And then when you click Paint, it'll create a mesh from the sprites you've put into there, and it'll create a mesh from that, basically, with the settings you've specified. So let's just give it a go and see what it's going to be like. Alright, we've created our sprite. And each sprite is a separate mesh made on the points. You can see that. It is a 2D, only one-sided mesh. And it is actually 2 meshes, so the square in the middle, where the square texture goes, is a sub-mesh, and the border is the mesh itself. That's why we have 2 materials in here, which you can change to any ones you like, and then the textures that you select in the path are gonna be inputted automatically in there. And let's just go quickly over the options we have in here. First of all is the height. You can specify how high your mesh is going to be. The width is specified by the distance between the 2 points, where the height is specified by the value in the script itself. Let's keep it at 3 for now. Then we have tiling X, Y, and border X and Y. So I've separated the tiling for the square in the middle and the border of the mesh, so you can customize them as much as you want. For example, if I want to have more squares in the middle, I can just go and do something like this. I'll have 4 squares in the middle texture. And this is applied throughout the whole path, by the way. So if you want to have different settings or different textures or anything like that, you can just go and create a separate path for that. And then you're going to have it. But let's stick to this path for now. Yeah, so it is also very useful that you can sort of make your own tiling for. The next thing is the border, and essentially the border is basically how big your border is going to be on your mesh. You can set it to anything really, just depends on your texture and what sort of effect you want to achieve. The last option is margin, and the margin is how much of the border texture is going to be taken, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Right now you can see that the square texture, it's this one blue in the middle, so there is a little bit of the border texture in there. It's a different shade of blue that we actually don't want to have in there. So we can just go and say our margin is going to be, it was 0.1, now it's 0.075, repaint, and there we go, we just removed that excessive part of our border that we did not want to have. And thus we've kind of blended two different sprites together and painted them onto our mesh. Once again, you can have multiple paths, and all of them can share the same texture, or they can have different textures. Just remember, if you're applying different texture to your path, you also have to have different materials. Once again, you can have any material you want in there, as long as it has the texture on it, and that's pretty much it. That is the condition for using the tile masker. And now if you click paint all, it's also going to paint our new path that we have in here. If you, for example, want to just repaint one of the paths rather than all of them, you can go and click kind of toggle choose path and get this specific one, and then you can just have paint chosen. That's just if you want to repaint one specific path rather than changing all of them at once. And now let me show you how this can be useful to you. Have a simple 2D platformer. Let's say the player has to get from this ground to that ground. And I don't want to just have platforms, because yeah, you can just get your sprites and sort of make platforms like that, but then you're sort of working in a 2D, and if you want to sort of, if you want the character sliding down, for example, if I get this sprite, duplicate it, if you want it to be rotated, then you'd have to go and rotate it, and then sort of try and match it. This can be quite time-consuming, but the very convenient thing about using our path is that we can just go up here. Let's delete one point. So we can take our point, and I would recommend using just the default tiling and borders, all set to 1. So you just take the point, move it downwards, and you repaint, and you sort of get that, and you get your mesh built from two sprites, angled easily, and then you can make all sorts of connections like that. So you can easily paint your path as much as you want in the direction that you want. I would recommend going left to right. And then you can easily customize it to your liking. You can create separate paths. For example, I wanted to have a gap somewhere in the middle. I'll just delete the last 3 points. Then we'll have first, second. We can get a new path. Place it like that. And maybe copy. You can also use a copy component and paste component function to just clone that one, and then you can easily tile your level like that. Then again, this looks a little bit stretched, so you can go and change the values of the tiling to get maybe the result you want, or maybe do like this, and it'll create more points easily. So the beautiful thing about this is also that whenever you click on the point you create will be linked to that one. So if I sort of do this in the middle, this point will be in the middle. And they're gonna watch out. So I don't want anyone to have false expectations of this editor extension. By all means, it is not perfect. As you can see, sometimes you get this odd behavior, so you have to constantly be sort of working with the values, seeing what actually works for you better. Yeah, like here, it goes perfectly, looks nice, whereas with behavior like that, it can sort of stretch, and you'd have to go and change the values yourself. So do not expect this to be absolutely perfect. And in terms of performance, well, all of that, including the two, let me actually just remove those two values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those meshes are going to be 400 trees. It's not too much. It can be better. Certainly this editor extension can be improved. However, do not count that I'm certainly going to be improving this in the future. It may or may not happen. Just get this editor extension if you like what you see on the screen right now. If you're looking for this specific sort of behavior. Yeah, I hope you'll find this useful and it'll help you develop your levels faster.